Today, we're going to talk about how you can make $132,000 on a deal with no equity. This is Todd Toback, and if this is the first time that you've listened to the show or you haven't been to our website, head on over to nextlevelwholesaling.com. If you're looking to make more money in your business, you want to work less hours, you want a machine that pumps out cash month after month after month without your personal day-to-day involvement, head on over to Next Level Wholesaling and take the assessment today. This is actually something my mentor created for me, and it's going to rate you in the 4 most important areas of your wholesaling business. That's marketing, acquisition, disposition, and profit. And I got to tell you, when I took this thing for the first time, it was really eye-opening because I knew exactly what I had to do next to get off that treadmill, right? To stop going from deal to deal and run around like a chicken with my head cut off. And I started to create a business that was extremely profitable, where I worked just a few hours a week in it. And my hope and prayer is that this podcast does the same for you. So go ahead, go to nextlevelwholesaling.com, take the assessment, totally free. Let me know what your results are. Hit me up on Instagram at Todd Toback, and I'd love to hear from you. All right. So this actually is the first episode in a series of 4 called Deal or No Deal. And this was inspired actually by a few deals that we're working on right now. So we had a deal come across our desk, and this one actually came across through social media. Seller called us and says, we want to move immediately. Can't really talk about it over the phone, but we have a very personal circumstance that I'd like to talk to you about. So our acquisition specialist went out there, and long story short, the seller, real nice lady, she talked about how her husband was on the sex offender registry and they had to move within 30 days. Now, obviously, this is a sensitive topic, but our goal on this show, okay, is to make money by helping other people. All right. And so we're thinking, okay, well, this is a weird situation. How do we help the sellers move on and also make a profit? Because at first we're like, okay, this is weird. If you're listening to that. Yeah, it was. Well, anyway, long story short, the seller had to be out of their house in 30 days. Crazy thing is, so the husband is now living in a hotel because he's not allowed to be in this vicinity of where the property is, right? So they are spending money every single month for the hotel. They also have their house right now that she is living, the wife is living in, and their house is like really, really, really nice, in great condition. Bought it a year ago, and they currently owe $270,000. Now, the market in this particular market is not super hot. Calm down a little bit. And the house in its current condition is worth about $330,000. So if you know anything about real estate, if you have a house worth about $330,000 and you owe $270,000, you're going to have about 10% closing costs when you sell, plus time and energy and money and closing costs and waiting. And the seller's not going to walk away with that much money, $20,000 or $30,000. The other thing is that the seller's got a timeline, right? So she's paying for a hotel for her husband because he can't live in the house because I think it's in like a direct proportion to a school. And so, they have a timeline. So initially our acquisition specialist goes in there and says, hey, this thing's worth $330,000. Hey, how about I give you $210,000? And Sal's like, no way. I owe $270,000. This is not a win for me. So my question is this a deal or a no deal? Because the acquisition specialist was about to walk away. So we put on our thinking caps and I said, come on, let's get creative. Now, if you know anything about me, I actually started out my real estate investing career doing untraditional deals. That's lease options and owner financing and subject to. And I said, this is the perfect subject to, because most investors are going to walk away from this deal. But I'm going to tell you how you can make $132,000 and maybe even a little more on this deal. So we approach the seller and say, hey, listen, we'd love to help you, but I know you don't want to take our $210,000 offer. You owe $270,000. By the way, her payments are $2,400, right? PITI, that's principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. Basically the entire payment. Interest rate about 5.5%. So wholesale deal is no, off the table. We approach the seller and say, hey, listen, what if we take over your mortgage of $270,000? Now, we're not going to assume it. I repeat, we are not going to assume the loan. We're not going to call the bank. We're not going to negotiate with the bank. We have the bank statements. We know what is owed against the property. We tell the seller, listen, what if we give you $4,000 down to help you move, to find your new place, and you can immediately stop these double payments. So now you and your husband can go move to a new place out of the area of the school. You're not going to have to make double payments. He's not going to have to stay in a hotel. We'll take over those payments and give you $4,000. In addition, for your equity, we will give you another $16,000 in 84 months, 0 payments, 0 interest until then. Okay? So basically, we're giving them $20,000 for their equity. $4,000 now, $16,000 in 84 months, no payments, no interest. Now you're thinking, Todd, how do you make money here? Well, I'll tell you what, you're going to make a crap load of money if you listen to what I'm telling you today. Okay, so with that, we could do a couple things. We could rent the property, which if we get this deal, we may do, and hold on for the long term. Great property, great area. And if you know anything about rental real estate, if I hold on to this as a rental, I'm probably going to get $2,500, $2,600 a month if I rent this thing. And if the payment's $2,400, I'm probably going to be losing money on this thing for at least 5 to 6 years. Going to be feeding it every single month because you're going to have vacancy and repairs and a big bill that comes up. And that's what rentals do. They eat cash for a while. I don't really like to do that. So here's what I'm going to do. And also, this is a market that I particularly don't like to hold rentals in. So what we're going to do is we are now going to take title to the property. We're going to give the seller their $4,000 down. Okay, we are now going to sell this to a buyer, but we're going to become the bank. Okay, so now I'm going to create a new loan, okay, in which I am the bank. We're going to find a new buyer who's going to give us $25,000 down. Okay, they're going to give us $25,000 down as a down payment. And we're going to sell it to them because it's owner financing, okay? And because we're offering non-qualifying terms, and because they don't have to go through a long application process, we can sell it for a little bit of a premium, maybe $269.9, right? When the seller would only be able to sell it for $239. We also are going to be able to get interest rates. So I'm going to collect $25,000 down. So we're going to profit $22,000 right up front. But what we're also going to do is create that new loan, and I'm going to charge the seller or buyer, an interest rate of 7.9%. Now, at the time of this recording, interest rates are right around 8%. I might be able to charge more, but I'm going to charge them 8%. The underlying loan is 5.5%. So I'm going to make money a couple ways here. Number one is that there is a spread in the interest rate between what the seller is paying me, from what the buyer is paying me to what the seller's loan is. So I may have lost you there. But right now, just approximately, okay, the new loan with my new buyer, that payment will be approximately $3,000 a month, okay, approximately. My underlying loan is $2,500. So I am making $500 a month just in the difference in interest rate. Now it's going to be a little bit more than that. I'm actually going to be making a little bit more because, hope I don't lose you here, the loan that I create with the buyer is actually going to be 30 years. It's going to be fresh. They're going to be paying more interest on that. The loan that I have that I took over from the seller is actually a couple years old. It's actually amortizing at a faster rate, but I'm not even going to include that in my profit numbers. Okay, because right now I'm making, again, $500-600 a month. That being said, if this goes on for 10 years, 120 20 months, I make approximately between $5,000 and $6,000 a year. Let's call it $55,000 in interest. Just in interest. $55,000 in interest. Now, that's not including principal, okay? I also have sold this property, again, for about 30 grand above market value. And so when the seller does cash me out, right, they're going to refinance or sell the property, let's say in 120 months, 10 years, I'm going to make another $79,000. Now, out of that 79, I did already collect 24, right, because of the down payment. But if you take the $24,000, okay, and these are just approximate, right, $24,000 plus the 79 in spread, right, from the $300,000 that I'm going to buy the property for approximately, right, between 290 and 379, that number is $79,000. So between the down payment and what they pay me, either in payments or when they refinance me in 10 years, I'm going to make another $79,000. That's the minimum, okay, if that carries along there. So I add up $79,000 in a balloon payment or when they refinance. And, okay, I also made $5,380 a year, okay, for 120 months. So that's $132,000 on a property, okay, that there was no equity. I didn't have to have a rental. Only came up with $4,000 down out of my pocket, right? And basically I became the bank. And so, yes, I'm going to recommend that we do this deal. One other thing to make this a little sweeter is a little hack. We might rent it for a year before we sell it on owner financing, because if we hold it for a year, we then get long-term capital gains treatment versus regular ordinary income. All right, so you'll make you'll save about 20% on taxes. So on 132,000, you're going to keep an extra $26,000 in taxes approximately. So you got to decide whether you're going to keep that for a year and rent it and then sell it with owner financing, or just go out of the gate and sell it with owner financing. Now, I know that may have been over some of your heads, but go ahead and listen to the podcast. If you're listening to this on YouTube, put a question in the comments. If you're listening to the podcast, totally blown away, you can always send an email to support@NoLimitsRealEstateInvesting.com. Love to hear from you, but I like this deal. It's 6 figures, not today, but guess what? I'm getting paid every day in my sleep. And that's what I love about doing big deals. This stuff gets you off the treadmill. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode of Deal or No Deal. If you haven't been to our website, Next Level Wholesaling, head on over there, take the assessment, and I will talk to you on the next episode.